Hello, welcome once again. My name is Unordered, and I'll be your trainer for this entire series. If you have not subscribed to this channel, subscribe to it. Turn on the notification button to get alerted when a new video is posted. If you like the video, hit the like button. This is the part 2 of the series, and if you have not watched part 1, you can just go and watch it and come back to this video to continue. I would like to start part 2 by explaining some other attributes before we continue with the tags. You see that when you enter or when you visit some websites and you want to type in an input, you want to enter an input, sometimes you can click on the label and then the cursor appears within the input for you to type something. But right now we don't have that functionality. So if I click on email, nothing happens within that input. So how do we add that functionality? It is the for attribute that is used for that functionality. So we are adding the for attribute to the label. You are giving the label that functionality. So when you look at the for attribute, it's found within the label tag. Now, there are so many inputs over here. Even we can get more than one email input type. So the question is, how will the label identify which input tag to allow you access when that label is clicked? That is where you have to give the input itself an identity. So you have to give the input itself an identity here, so that when you reference it in the for attribute, it would know that, okay, when someone clicks me, I should activate the email, let's say email input, for the person to type something. So I have to give the input an identity. So even if I give the for attribute, let's say email, I'm telling it that when I click on you, search for an identity called what? Email, and activate it for the person to enter something. If I save it and click here, still nothing happens, because I've not given that particular identity to any input yet. So I have to give an identity with this name to one of the inputs here. And since I want to activate the email input when this label is clicked, I would have to add another attribute to the email input, which is ID. So I add ID to it and I give it the same name I gave to the for attribute. So I save it. Now when I go to the page and click this one, you see that the input field for the email is active for me to type something. So that is for the for attributes. Let's try the same thing on the password. So I give it a for password. Let me give it password. I have to give the identity. So even though I've given the for attribute, when I click on the password, nothing happens. So I give it an identity of the same password. I save it now. When I click on the password, that input field gets activated. The next attribute I'll talk about is the selected attribute. And for that, I'll use the option tag as a demonstration for that particular attribute. The option tag is within the selected tag. So I'll go to the element that was produced by the selected tag, which is this particular one, this drop down. So you see that by default when the page loads, let me load it again. See that by default when the page loads, the first option is selected when the page loads. What if I want to change it? I want to change it to, let's say, other. If the page loads for the first time, the default value that should be selected should be other. That is where the selected attribute comes in. So I'll go to that particular option tag, which is this particular one. I'll come and add the attribute selected. I'll save it. Now when I save it, you see that the page reloaded itself and the selected option was other. So if you want to change the default value that is selected from the option tag, you can use the selected attribute. The next attribute I'll speak about is the disabled attribute. I'll still use the option tag to demonstrate the disabled attribute. Let's say if I want to disallow the user from selecting this particular option, the female option, I don't want to take that particular option from the list, but I want it disabled. I don't want the user to select it. When we advance to JavaScript, you would want to manipulate an option to become disabled when it is selected. So sometimes you use JavaScript to manipulate the option to turn on being disabled when it is selected. So the disabled attribute, I add the disabled attribute, save it. When I go to the select tag, you see that the female is disabled. The user cannot select it. So that is the disabled attribute as well. The next tag I'll talk about is the text area tag. So this is another input, but do not use the input tag itself. It has its own tag called the text area. If you need an input field that is large enough to take many characters, many text characters, then use the text area. So if I come to the form, I can put it inside a container and give it a label of, let's say, message. So if someone wants to send a message, the person would type more text inside the input. So I'll give it an attribute F. I'll give it a name within the for attribute as message, so that if the person clicks on the label, it takes him to the actual input. So the name is text area. So I give it a name. I hope you have not forgotten about what the name attribute does. So it gives it an identity when the content of the input is sent to the server. So when the value of the input is sent to the server, it should go with an identity. That's what the name tag does. But for the ID tag, it's just an identity on the page. It's just an identity on the page. Okay, so I give it the same message. Go to ID, give it the same message. Not that it should always be the same thing. So I have the label and I have the input. So when I click on the label, the input is activated because of the for attribute. You see, I didn't give anything within the text area, any content, because the user is now going to type what he wants inside there. The next tag I'll talk about is the button tag. Now you see that this input type gives us a button, but there's also a separate button tag available. If you want to use that one, you can use that one too. But these days, not inside the form, outside the form, when designers want to design a button these days, they mostly use a link tag and design it to look like a button. So that's what most designers do these days. But there's the button tag available for you to use in case that's your preference. So this is how the button tag looks like. Type the word button. So within the button tag, whatever I type as a content will be what would be written on that particular button. For example, when you check this button, which was made with the input tag, you see the word submit on it. That was given to us by this particular attribute. But for the button tag, we are not going to use this attribute to display the name on the button. We are going to type that name as a content for that particular button tag. So I can say click me, save it, and I have that particular button saying click me. So the button tag is also available for you to use in case you want it. The next tags I'll be talking about helps us to get a list on our page. So if you need a list as an element on your page, I'll talk about two tags that can help you do that. So let's take the first one. The first one is called the ordered list. So let's try it. Ordered list, when you are spelling those two words, ordered starts with O and list starts with L. So the two letters combined gives us an ordered list. So I have OL and press enter. So I get the ordered list tag. I press enter to bring the closing tag downwards because there are certain elements within the ordered list tag that needs to appear. So within the ordered list, what are your actual list? So that is where the LI tag comes in. Type LI, press enter. So what is your first list in the order? So let's say I want to write down the ingredients, or let's say list some examples of fruits. So I have orange, I duplicate them and change the values. Change this one to mango. Change this one to pear. And I change this one to pineapple. So I save it. And I have this list on my page with 1, 2, 3, 4 as the order. So it ordered them according to numbers. You can use CSS to change the order which it comes with. You can use A, B, C, D, I, V. So in whatever way that you want, you can do it. But this is the ordered list. It gives you a list made with, let's say, numbers by default as a way of ordering the list. The next list tag I'll talk about is the unordered list. So as the name says, unordered starting with U, list starting with L. So UL gives us unordered list. Press enter again to bring the closing tag downwards. It also takes the same list tags for the actual list. So LI, I use the same orange. Duplicate them. Change this one to mango. Pineapple. And then pear. Save it. And it gives me the same list, but this time around it came with bullets. It didn't come with numbers as the ordered list came with. The next tags I'll talk about are the bold and italics tag. I'll first give a dummy text within the paragraph tag to help me illustrate the bold and italics. So I'll give a P tag and give a dummy text. So this is the dummy text on the page. Let me make my code format well so that I can get the other part. Okay, so what I used to format this one was the Alt Z. So Alt key on the keyboard and you press the key Z. Okay, so I have my dummy text over here. What if I want certain parts of this text bolded? That is where the bold tag comes in. So let's say from this part to this part, if I want it bolded, I can put that text within a bold tag. So at the beginning, I type less than B, then I close it. You see, it automatically brought the closing tag, but that is not where I want it. So I can take it away, go to the end, type less than / and then the B. So now I want it where that it is needed. So from here to this side of the text, I want that part bolded. That's why I've placed it within the bold tag. So if I save it, see that that particular text has bolded over here. So that is the bold tag. If I need a tag in an italicized form, then I put that part of the text in an italics tag. So let's say if I want this part of the text, this part in italics, the same way, I put it at the beginning, less than I, then greater than. It also brought the closing tag, so I take it away. I bring it to where I need it, / and then it brings it back. So I can now save it, and you see that it has italicized beautifully on the page. So this part has been bolded and this part has been italicized. So that is the bold tag and then the italics tag. But these days, the bold tag just lays emphasis on the text, but there is a more current tag that we use in case we want to bold the text. It gives the text an importance as well. So instead of using the B tag, The tag that people mostly use these days is the strong tag. So instead of using the bold tag, I place it with strong. Go to the closing tag and replace it with strong. So if I save it, you see nothing happens. It's still the bold tag, but there's screen readers and search engine operators would text as very important. So that's what the strong tag does for us. In the same manner, the italics tag also has a replacement. So that is the emphasis tag. So I change it to EM, change the closing to EM. So if I save it and you see that nothing happens on the page, it's just like the italics tag, but screen readers and search engine operators will recognize this as italicized and important as well. So that is the strong, the bold, the italics, and then the emphasis tag. The next tag is going to be the underline tag. So just as the name describes itself, it will underline the text. So let me pick a text within the paragraph. So I choose this one. So I'm going to underline this particular text. Same way, come to the beginning, less than u, greater than. It brought the closing tag. So what I'll do is to take away the closing tag, come to the end where I need it, less than /u. Save it, and then you see the text underlined beautifully over here. Now I'll talk about the mark tag. Okay, so if you need a text to be highlighted, then you use the mark tag. So let me demonstrate it, and we take a look at how the mark tag affects our elements on the page. So if I want to mark this particular part of the text, come to the beginning, type less than, mark, type greater than. It gives me the ending. I delete it. Come to the end, type less than / and then it automatically gives me the closing tag. If I save it, you see that that particular part of the text is marked. So that is the mark tag. It's kind of highlights a particular text on your behalf. The next tag will be the horizontal rule tag. So it just places a line under the tag. So the horizontal rule, draw a line on your page. So let's say after the paragraph or after the H1 tag, I need a line drawn under the H1 tag. All that I'll do is to give the horizontal rule, and you see the horizontal rule is a self-closing tag. There's no content given to it. So when I save it, see that it gives a straight line under the sign in tag or the H1 tag. Okay, so there is a particular concept that you have to really understand when it comes to web development with HTML. These tags can be either a block tag or an inline tag. These tags can be either a block tag or an inline tag. To demonstrate this, I'll maximize this and demonstrate the difference between a block tag and an inline tag. So let's make this bigger. I'm going to use one particular tool that developers really love when it comes to web development. So what you do, this is Microsoft Edge. So what you do is to right click on the page and come to inspect. So when you click on it, it brings you or it takes you into a developer mode. And then with this mode, you can inspect each tag as an element on your page. So you can inspect each tag as an element on your page and know what each tag is doing on the page. You can even use this one to check the styles that you have implemented. But for now, all that we are going to do is to check the elements and explain the difference between the block tag and then an inline tag. We'll be using this very often to describe certain things along the journey. If you hover on any tag on your code, it highlights the particular element that it's brought to your page. So the H1 tag, when you hover on it, it gives you the particular element. Now, the block tag and the inline tag has to do with the width of that particular element on the page. The block tag or the inline tag focuses on the width of that particular element on the page. Now, for the block tag, it doesn't concentrate on the content of that particular element. It takes up the full width of the page. So you see that when I hover on the H1, even though the content ends at N, the box around it doesn't end at N. It goes to the right and takes the full width of that particular area. So for a block tag, the width is not restricted to the width of the content. It takes the full width of that particular section. But if I come to the inline tags, for example, the label tag is an inline tag. So within the body, we had a label within the form. So if I highlight on that particular label tag, you see that it highlighted the email on the page, and then the width of that particular box around it takes up the content of that particular tag. It doesn't take the full width of that particular section. So that is the difference. So that is the difference between the inline tag and then the block tag. The block tag, even if the content it's just one character or two characters, it will take the full width of that particular section on the page. But for the inline, it is restricted to the width of the element is restricted to the content of that particular element. So when you use an inline tag and you use a different tag following it, that particular tag will be to the right of that particular. It will start from where that particular content ended. That is why the input tag is placed at the right of the label tag, because the label tag ended at L, and then the next tag should follow to the right, because the email or the label tag does not take the full content. So something should take that particular part of the page. So the input tag is also another inline tag. That is why it doesn't also take the full width of that particular section. So the label tag is an inline tag. The input tag is also an inline tag. But there is this container, this div container takes the full width of that particular section. So if I put the label and then the input tag within that particular container, the container will now take the full width of that section. So that's the difference between the inline tag and then the block tag. We'll be using it along the journey. So get that concept well. When you are working, you need to be mindful of the tags and what they will do. If you want to style it anyway, CSS comes in, but by default you should know what the tag is and its relationship to the width of that particular element on the page.